On today's video, we're gonna tell you all about the big giant market crash that's coming. That's really a lie. Hi, this is Chris Morton, real estate broker with eXp Realty in Raleigh, North Carolina, and YouTube is an amazing place. We've had a lot of clients come from YouTube and they are really well educated. They know what's going on in the real estate market. They get a lot of information from YouTube about buying a house and how the whole process works. Unfortunately, they're also watching some videos out there that have become very, very popular. You've probably seen them. The people doing them have thumbnails with their hair on fire, their eyes are bugging out, and they look like they had been running a marathon in a three-piece suit, and they're all sweaty and flop sweaty. And anyway, they're breathless and they're telling you the market's gonna crash. Well, they've scared a lot of people, and in fact, we've had clients come to us and say, we wanna buy a house in Raleigh, we wanna move to Raleigh, but we wanna wait until after the housing market crash because we know it's coming and there's no need to overpay for a house now. And it's tough because we have to explain there's really no evidence of this housing market crash happening. And these people that are telling you that there's a crash coming are doing it for a lot of reasons that are a little suspect. Some of them may have good intentions, they may believe what they're saying, but a lot of these people know the old news media headline adage, if it bleeds, it leads, meaning if it's something really scandalous or dangerous or controversial, it goes on the front page of a newspaper and everybody reads it. Nobody reads about how there's sunshine and daisies going on. Nobody wants to know about that. They always want to know about the crash. So these people are feeding the public what the public wants to hear, that the world's coming to an end, that the market's going to crash, etc., etc. Unfortunately, we've had some people who were looking in October, November, December of last year for a house. They decided to sit on the sidelines because the market was going to crash, or they were just frustrated by the whole process. And now they're back in the spring looking for houses, and these same size houses are $20,000 and $30,000 more. So they've put themselves behind the eight ball because they listen to these so-called experts. In fact, we made a video a while back where we made fun of these experts and told them we don't really believe what they're saying, that the market is not going to crash. There's lots of reasons to jump on our train, and we're going to go over some of those today. And now those same experts on YouTube are coming around and saying, sorry, we made a mistake. We don't see a correction happening, and yada, yada, yada. So unfortunately, they've hurt a lot of people, and we're gonna call them out today and say, you shouldn't always believe what an expert says. The experts are really yourself, what you believe is happening and what you see in the raw data. So we're gonna go over the facts, what we believe is happening and what we think is gonna be happening in the future. But please know, we don't have a crystal ball any more than these experts have. And we can only just give you the facts. We can only give you what we see on the ground here in Raleigh, North Carolina, as far as activities going and the number of buyers out here, the number of sellers, etc., and extrapolate the trends from that. So the first reason we don't believe there's going to be a market crash is the mortgage situation. Back in 2008, if you could fog a mirror, you could get a mortgage. There were dogs that got mortgages in 2008. I'm not even joking, it really is true. And now, things are much stricter. You have to very much qualify for the specific mortgage you're getting and for the specific size home you're getting. You have to have money down, and you have to be able to prove you're gonna be able to pay for your mortgage in the future. So it is very true that there are less people out there that are risky in the mortgage game right now than there was in 2008. 2008, there were so many foreclosures because people couldn't pay for their phony loans, and they had to dump their home on the market, and it caused more people to have to dump their homes on the market because the market kept going down, down, down in value. So mortgages are stricter today, harder to get, and so of course there's less people out there that are in these risky loans, therefore less people are foreclosing, and therefore there's less people out there losing their home. The second reason that we don't believe there's going to be a crash is the supply issue going on. We've talked about it in other videos. There really should be, at this time of the year in the Raleigh Triangle market, around 12,000 homes for sale. We are sitting now at 2,000 homes for sale, meaning if today 10,000 homes were dumped on the market, it would not cause a crash at all. Those homes would be gobbled right up. In fact, I would argue that with the number of people coming into our area, with the number of industries we have, tech industries coming into our area, 10,000 homes probably wouldn't even cause an equilibrium to happen. I'm suspecting we're going to need even more than 10,000 homes to get to a point where it's not a seller's market or a buyer's market, that it's pretty much in the equilibrium, which is the happy days that makes everybody less stressful. I just see that as not being the case because supply is so low. And remember, when demand is high and supply is low, that causes prices to go up. When supply is high, demand is low, like in 2008 crash, prices are going down. And also bear in mind, home value is determined by what a buyer is willing to pay for a home. It's not based on what the seller thinks the home is worth. And truly, it's not even based on what happened 6 to 12 months ago or any data that an appraiser would use to value the home. It's based strictly on what a buyer thinks the home is worth. And if there's simply just not a lot of supply and buyers are picking over the tiny amount of really good homes, that of course is going to drive prices up. So it's just a factor of what's going on and a natural factor of what's going on in our market right now. And of course, as you can imagine, and as we've talked about on previous videos, this kind of situation is causing a lot of stress. We've gotten a number of clients coming to us from YouTube, and 2 of them in particular have written 6 or 7 offers each on homes well over asking price and haven't been successful getting them. So we're now in the business not only of helping you find what kind of home you need, helping you find the homes, researching the homes, negotiating the homes, and showing you the homes. We're now also in the therapist business to kind of talk people down from this stressful period of time. And it's tough for everybody, and it sort of is a factor of the supply and demand, and hopefully in this future it's going to get better really soon. On a side note from all of this supply issue is the corporate purchases that are happening. One of my clients has been tracking our market very, very closely. She's not local, so she's really depending on the data, not on her eyes, which quite frankly is probably the best way to do things because you're kind of objective. And she's seeing a number of homes that were for sale back in the fall, back in the winter, before they were really ready to buy, that were bought up and are now back on the market with very few improvements with a corporate seller at a higher price. So there's obviously investors in our market who are gobbling up homes, unfortunately. I mean, they're welcome to make a profit. I'm not begrudging them for that, but unfortunately they're gobbling up the properties that a first-time home buyer, second-time home buyer would want to buy, and they're flipping them for a profit. So that's also part of the supply issue we have right now. And again, another reason why I don't think we're gonna have a crash anytime soon. And the third reason we don't think we're gonna have a crash is foreclosure. So one of the big pillars that these YouTube experts were telling us about was that with the pandemic happening last year, we were gonna see a ton of people getting foreclosed on. They were gonna lose their jobs. The home market was gonna crash because foreclosures. The banks would take people's houses. Well, that didn't happen. The federal government stepped in and created a forbearance program. You may have heard about it, where basically anyone who felt like they were not able to pay their mortgage could get a pause on their mortgage payments. And so a good number of people took the banks up on this offer. And the good news is about 50% of those forbearances have been paid off. They've been resolved because the people realized they weren't getting free money. They were gonna eventually have to pay the mortgage anyway, so they had their job, they were okay, they paid their mortgage back. There's about 50% that haven't quite got that done yet, where they've gone through that process. The federal government is also stepping in to give them even more time to get this resolved. So the good news is it's unlikely that those forbearance homeowners are going to have their homes dumped on the market through the foreclosure process. In addition, further good news, there was a study out recently that only 3%, and actually a little less than 3% of homes in the entire United States have negative or zero equity, meaning the value of their home is worth less than what their mortgage is. That's what happened in the 2008 period. Today, only 3% have that issue going on. The vast majority of people have a lot of equity in their home, and if they needed to, they could sell it, move to an apartment or a rental house, and actually turn a profit on their foreclosure forbearance house. So highly unlikely that very, very many people will ever get into a foreclosure situation. Why not just put the home on the market and sell it and walk away with money in your pocket versus losing the whole bag of tricks and kit and caboodle? And the fourth reason we don't believe there's going to be a crash anytime soon is the new construction is not getting dumped on the market right now. So builders, you would logically think, because we have such a supply deficit, you would think those builders would be building a ton of homes right now, dumping them on the market to anybody who's willing to buy a house, and it would be a win-win for everybody. Unfortunately, with material costs, especially lumber, steel, and even resin going up so high recently, builders cannot afford to just start building a ton of speculative homes. In fact, most builders I know are waiting way into the process, literally like the framing stage or even the drywall stage of a home before they put it for sale on the market. Why are they doing this? Well, they're doing it so they know exactly what the home is going to cost. A home that a builder is planning on building today and is a dirt lot, he has no idea or she has no idea what that final product is going to cost based on material costs. So for them to guess what they should charge for that home 6, 8, 9 months from now when the home is done, they could end up losing their shirts. So instead of doing that, they've been prudent. They've been not building a lot of homes. They're building a few at a time, and they've been building them very carefully so they know exactly what they have in them so they don't take a loss. Unfortunately, what this is doing, instead of a builder putting 30 homes on the market like they normally would do, they're putting 3 or 4 on the market, making it impossible to add to this supply deficit problem we have, and again, causing prices to go up and up and up. So what will the future of housing look like? Well, we've kind of hinted in this video about our opinion that we think things are going to level out, and the rapid increase in prices we're seeing right now are going to slow down a little bit. Now, I don't think that means they're going to collapse and the prices are going to go down, but I think they're going to level out and get a little bit easier for everyone, both the buyers and the sellers, and don't forget the real estate agents. And this cooling off we're talking about is going to be a great thing for especially the buyers of those three. So they're going to have more opportunity, less competition. Instead of having 30 offers on a home or 40 offers on a home, there's going to be 2 or 3 offers on a home. Real estate agents are going to benefit because they're not going to have to run out, show a property, write a contract at midnight, get a contract over to the listing agent at 1 a.m. and all of that craziness that's going on right now. And of course, sellers are going to be better off because they're not going to be stressed with multiple offers trying to decide who to pick. You literally have people's lives and futures in your hands when you're selling a home. And so they're not going to have to deal with all of that. They're going to be able to take their time. Everyone's going to get a fair shot, and it's going to be a lot easier when this finally does happen. And it will happen eventually. We will have some leveling off. And why? The main reason it's going to happen is capitalism, simple greed. Buyers will finally have more inventory to choose from when sellers get wind of what their neighbors are doing, or homeowners get wind of what their neighbors are doing and what the neighbors sold their house for, the obscene, amazing profit that the next door neighbor made. So someone's going to see that, they're going to see how easy it was relatively to get their home sold, and they're going to start putting their home on the market. I had this conversation with a client just this week that's coming here, and I said, we will eventually have this happen. Eventually, people who can afford to move, and by afford, I mean they don't have a job commitment here. Maybe they've lived the Raleigh lifestyle and they're looking to move to the coast and be on the beach or move to the mountains, that kind of thing. We are very fortunate in the state of North Carolina that you can easily make that move within 2 or 3 hours of Raleigh. And prices are a little bit better, if not quite a bit better, on both the coast and the mountains of North Carolina, or like the down east part, like Greenville, Havelock, that part of North Carolina has some really good prices as well. So those people that are maybe retired, or they don't necessarily need to be here, or don't necessarily care about the Raleigh lifestyle anymore because they've lived it for 40, 50 years, those people can now sell their home, move away. They've got a ton of equity, which is great for them. They've got a great nest egg, and that opens that home up for a future buyer from local or out of state, whatever. And that cycle will eventually happen, and it will cause things to soften up a little bit. And so all this added inventory will mean prices will start leveling out. Instead of homes escalating $10, $20, $30, $50, $75,000 in a couple months, they're going to escalate $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, that sort of thing. Now, there are some markets that could have a potential slowdown reduction, like San Francisco and Los Angeles, the big cities. New York has had a slowdown already. However, these markets are already bouncing back, so this may not actually be a long-term trend. I don't think it's going to be a trend in most of the country, and there's some select cities where we may not even ever see the slowdown I'm talking about. Those would include Austin, Texas, Phoenix, Arizona, and yes, Raleigh, North Carolina. Why are these cities, these special cities out there? Well, they are very popular in the media. They've gotten voted very popular by the general public as great places to live. The industry, the tech giants are moving into those cities. And so again, you keep trying to put 10 pounds of sugar in a 5-pound sack, you're gonna have a problem. And no matter how slow the sugar goes into that sack, it's still going into that sack. So that could be an issue for these select cities. I think the rest of the country will definitely see that slowdown and reduction in the avalanche of price increases. Not sure about the select cities I'm talking about. We'll find out. Time will tell. So, what is the takeaway from all this? Well, the takeaway we want to share with you is do not trust any of the experts, including us, when you are deciding if you should buy or sell a home or not buy or sell a home. You need to go based on what you're seeing the hard data say and your gut. If you are ready and need to buy a new house or sell your current house, then now is the time to do that. Don't wait for some special market correction or adjustment or magical thing that's gonna happen, because it won't happen. The experts have been telling us we're gonna have a crash any second now. Oh wait, now. Okay, it'll happen next week. You get the point. They've been saying this for months. Now they're finally coming around and saying there isn't gonna be a crash, or most of them are finally seen our side of things. So trust your gut, do what you think is right, and of course you know what's right. That is, like and subscribe below. We'd love to hear your comments, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.